All right, I think we're about ready to get started. Thank you for braving this class as we're going to talk about introduction to artificial intelligence. So our agenda is going to start with tonight, AI fundamentals. Everybody has a sheet that I had given out. If you want a digital copy of that, I can send that to you. I can put that in the link or in the email when I follow up for next week. So our goal tonight and for this week and this course is to understand what AI is, artificial intelligence, how it works, what the key components are. And we're going to talk about some things that may be confusing, but I'm going to try to break it down the best I can because with a topic like this, you can't separate certain terms. They all have to conjoin together or the whole package won't be delivered. All right, so I want to talk about a scenario first. So let's say one weekend, I'm like, I want to head over to a friend's house and I want to watch Netflix. All right, so I'm going to pull up my calendar on my phone and I'm going to go check the recommendations on Netflix. Before I go, I'm going to be like, you know what, I better check the weather. I've got to drive across town. It might be late till I get home. Siri tells me, well, right now it might be raining. Tells me the whole scoop about, in 15 minutes it's going to end and all this wonderful stuff. It's like, all right, fine. So I decide to get into my Cybertruck. I do not have a Cybertruck. Honestly, the more I hear about them, the more I don't want one. But that's me and my fake Cybertruck.
But you have sat in one.
I have sat in one, and it was overwhelming, to say the least. So you see them around, and they're great to look at, but hearing the things that are going on with them, So I'm going to bring up my GPS, and I'm going to go across town. Traffic may be a little heavy, so I'm going to turn on autopilot, and I'm going to go through my notes while I let Cybertruck do his thing and drive around town and take me to a friend's house. So afterwards, I start to think to myself, how has technology made my life easier? Or has it made it more complex? I mean, depending on where you are in life, where you have been in different things, my typing class was on a IBM Selectric typewriter. I loved Mrs. Fessler, 9th grade typing. I loved it. Never thought I'd be doing it so much now. I was like, I don't like this class, but I'm going to take it because I might need it someday. Here we are. Now I'm going to, hey Siri, I'm going to dictate this note to you, right? So has it made my life easier? If I do some research, I can find out that Netflix, Siri, and Tesla are all using some form of AI, artificial intelligence. Not all AIs are alike. There's different types of AI, and we're going to talk about that here shortly. So what exactly, when I talk about AI, excuse me, are we talking about? I mean, when you think about AI, when you think somebody says, hey, you're at the mall, you're at with friends at lunch, somebody says, what do you think of AI? What comes to your head?
Terminator.
Exactly. That's the first one out of the gate. All right, thank you. Online, they said Terminator. Yes, that is 100-point bonus. What else?
I'm in Toastmasters, and one of the people that are in there with me said, I had AI write my speech about an hour ago. And I'm like, I spent 3 days on mine.
Right.
I got to figure out what this is.
Okay.
Not that I would always use it, but on occasion,
Right.
research or things
So
like
using a form of AI to help you write a letter, write a form or a speech or something.
that.
Okay. So we have end of the world. We have co-writing a speech. What else?
Well, like auto-completing.
Okay. All right. And there's a name for that. We're going to talk about that later. So like auto-completion. Is it really reading my thoughts? Probably not. But yes. So it's what they call predictive typing. It's based on grammar, based on AI and trends. What we're going to learn about is AI is patterns. It learns patterns, it learns trends, and it uses data to kind of think but its thinking is more algorithm based. It's already coded to do a certain pattern of thinking. So predictive typing is that. So if I'm typing, a letter and I start off with, "Dear Mr. So-and-so," it may fill in, "How are you today?" It's already there. And all I have to hit the tab key, boom, okay, there's 3 seconds back. And you keep going. So that's how, what else? What are some other, so we have some creative things. We have the creative side. I think Hollywood. I do. I go to Hollywood. Because how much technology have we seen developed because of Hollywood? Hey, I can do that. Has anybody seen the new, what Elon Musk revealed 2 weeks ago, Optimus? Have you seen Optimus? Just a little bit. Okay. Not the first robot you've seen like that. There have been others, but his is just more out there. We'll talk about some of that next week when we talk about real-world applications. So AI is nothing more than basically an artificial intelligence that is going to make computers think and act like us. All right, that's the goal. It's electronic, it's digital intelligence to make computer-based machines think like us. All right. So core concepts. Here's where we're going to talk a little bit about some history of AI. It's not a new topic. It's been around since the 1950s. 1950s. This gentleman right here, John McCarthy. So the definition, if you look at it from a deeper sense, is AI involves creating a system or systems that can perform tasks that would normally require human intelligence to encompass learning, reasoning, problem solving, and understanding language. And there's 3 parts that we'll go through and how that's interpreted. So just a brief history. Artificial intelligence, again, is nothing new. Its concept began back in the 50s with John McCarthy. He was a computer scientist. He actually worked alongside of other well-known computer engineers and scientists at that time. And he coined the term in 1956. He was passionate about his belief that someday computers would be able to think and perform tasks like humans. That was his pursuit. So again, due to his significant contributions in the field, along with coining that term, he also developed what they call the Lisp language. Again, you can use ChatGPT to say, tell me what Lisp is, language, and it will give you a bunch of code and say, hey, this is what they used. And it's very basic. It's very rudimentary coding that, again, we're not going to get into here, that they used for the first concept of AI. At that time, it was basically being able to take data and wrap a set of rules around that data and build models from it. So you could say, here's my set of rules for doing computations. Here's the raw data used by the AI systems to learn and make decisions. And we'll learn later that AI systems have to be trained. They still have to be trained. They still take human intervention. And then there's different mathematical structures that AI will use, different models to represent data and make predictions depending on what outcome you're seeking. Okay? Let's pause. It's a lot. I think it's a lot. So with that said at the moment, thinking about what technology we have on our hands now and all those different things, what's your feeling a little bit more? Any more questions that you're developing around AI?
So is algorithm, is that sort of like when you use Google search and it puts certain results first and then other ones?
Correct. Well, in a way, yeah. So an algorithm, think of your algebra class. All right, think of Boolean, if then, else kind of things. That, but yes, because Google will use an algorithm based on search results, right? If a group of people are looking for a certain result, what that does, it builds a trend. And then Google can then recommend, because if you go into a computer, you just bring up Google for the first time and you start typing, you're going to see things popping up below that. Those are the current trending searches. Those are all current trending searches. At one time I was at a friend's house and we were just, I don't know, I forget we were looking up cars or motorcycles or something. And I typed in something and it came up and there was some derogatory, not, bad things, but just like, but it wasn't him. It was the search. I mean, that's what people were searching for. And it kind of had to do with a certain celebrity or it had to do with whatever. So those search results are based on algorithms. You can even go on to, there's a website called Google Trends. And you can go on and you can say, I want to see what's being searched for in the United States, East Coast. What's being searched for in Indonesia. It's going to give it to you. It's going to show you. If I could say, I could type in Google Trends and say, iPhone help. And it's going to show me results based on searches around the algorithm people that Google uses for iPhone help. I'm surprised I didn't hear one thing about AI regarding the fast food industry. Have you been to McDonald's recently?
My grandson works there.
Okay. The kiosks. Right. Right. So, replacement of jobs. Okay. Manufacturing's been doing it for years. Manufacturing has taken, and we'll talk about robotics, some of your higher risk jobs, some of the more dangerous jobs, and automated them using robotics. Welding, fabrication, parts, distribution. There's a huge warehouse down in Indianapolis that does all the medication picking for IU Health. And it is all robots. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 people in that building. And they're there just in case something gets stuck. But the robots go out, they find what they need for a certain hospital, puts in an order of, let's say, 15 packages of this medication. Robot finds it, picks it, puts it in a bin, takes it down to the shipping area. And I think that's probably the only place where you see people is somebody physically taking it and loading it onto a truck to go to wherever it's ordered. So yeah, those are real world examples. But how does that all happen? There's a couple different ways that can function. So there's essentially 3 types of AI. And I was trying to draw out a chart earlier. And I don't know if I'll pass this around or show it to you later online or something. But this is kind of like how AI is, like, and I put initials and stuff, just the different types of AI, how it all narrows down to one area. And if I understand my writing later, I'll try to explain it in a different course or something. But we'll talk a little bit about it, 30,000 foot view right here. So again, artificial intelligence isn't just confined to movie recommendations, virtual assistants. Broadly classified, there's 3 types. There's what we call weak AI, general AI, and super AI, which I think we're getting closer to that one. So with narrow artificial intelligence, the reason they say it's kind of weak is it's designed to perform. That's a key word we got to keep thinking of. Kind of dispel the Terminator rules at this point. It is designed to perform specific tasks within a limited domain. All right, so let's say this room is the domain. And my task at this point is to present information on AI. And let's say my programming prohibits me from going out that door and teaching a course on AI. That's just in my domain. Okay, that's the same thing as when we talk about Netflix, when we talk about Siri, and those kind of things. Unlike strong AI, which is coming up next, it does not possess general intelligence. It's got to go out and look for what it needs. And it does not have self-awareness. Amazon is not, Alexa's not sitting on the counter saying, I'm going to do something really crazy tonight to these people. But I won't discount the fact that Alexa has had some issues, and I think they've been on the news. So, but again, it's within the bounds of its domain and programming. So it's not going to reprogram itself, so forth. But it is highly effective within its predefined domain. Alexa has really evolved over the years. When I had our first one, it was very limited, and they continue to upgrade it. So there's different things it can do. You can actually, you can go in and program it to turn on lights at a certain time, dim the lights, feed the cat, feed the dog, open the garage door, all this fun stuff. I know people talk about smart homes. The more I learn about this, the more I don't want a smart home. I don't. And that's another topic, but I will get into probably next week or the week after. But I know folks that are adamant about having everything connected until that day comes when you're locked out of your house. What do you do? And we'll talk about autonomy later, about autonomous technology. So speech recognition systems are a form of narrow or weak AI. Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant are designed to understand and respond to a voice command. So they're listening for certain predefined tasks. Either you can tell it what when I say this, I want you to do this, or it's out of the box. Amazon and Google have already pre-coded to say, do this when this happens. So it goes back to the algorithm and the if-then Boolean algebra type stuff. Okay. Setting reminders, tasks. I know I've talked about this in other classes about setting how to set a reminder with Siri. I'll be careful how loud I say that, or everybody's phones will be going off. Controlling smart homes. Again, they are limited programmed functionalities. Recommendation engines. So Netflix, why does it know what I like? Why do I get emails from Netflix saying, hey, we saw that you browsed this channel and just letting you know it's going away at the end of the month. You better get on and watch it. I mean, that's emails you get, right? I mean, I was in the middle of watching the Matrix series all over again, preparing for this course. And it let me know that, hey, what was it? October 31st, you better get them in because they're going somewhere else. So, okay. Amazon, why is it? I got an alert this afternoon from Amazon saying something like, hey, we noticed you opened this link for this product. Would you like a second look? I mean, they're suggestive, I remember when I worked at Arby's, we were always like, would you like fries with that? We got Amazon now saying, would you like a $3,000 big screen TV? No, I just looked at it because it looked interesting. I don't want to buy one. So anyway, music based on preferences, behavior patterns. Somebody who is wearing a smartwatch or carrying their phone with them while they go out for a walk may get a recommendation from Spotify saying, hey, here's some workout cardio music. Would you like to play this? It does. This stuff I'm telling you happens. This is real stuff. Again, under the guise and auspices of this is good for you. We're making life easier. Is my life easier? Those kind of things. How much am I willing to pay for a smart device or multiple smart devices to automate my life? Honestly, I was much better when it wasn't automated, but okay. Yes?
So how does your phone know that you're going for a walk? Is that the phone?
There's gyros in your phone. There's balance circuitry and guess you would call them like a servo. Yeah, they're in watches.
I see you're outside taking a walk.
Yeah, right.
Well, iPhone has a fitness app. Google has their own, and it
Right.
knows how many steps you're taking.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a watch.
Yeah. And those are turned on out of the box. Why is it that if I'm, within 500 feet of a Starbucks, she's going to pop up and say, hey, Starbucks has a sale or whatever, 2-for-1, buy one, get one, whatever.
Oh,
I'm like,
man. Yeah. I'm with you
no.
too.
I mean, that's another technology. It's like perimeter, what do they call it again? Geofencing. It's called geofencing. So what happens is companies can buy geofencing apps from marketers. So if I was a marketer and I was doing digital marketing for certain large companies, I could go in and say, hey, I can help you get more customers because we can set a geofence for you. They pay a certain set of money to the search engines and to all, Apple, Amazon, those places, and they say, okay, how big would you like your geofence to be? 300 feet, again, going by radius. And then they can say, yeah, we'll pay X amount of money for this geofence. And then they can actually track, using trends again, how many people opened that app because they saw that geofence ad, because that popped up on their screen. The amount of data your phone collects would scare you. It knows how many times you've opened an app. It knows how many times, like certain times of the day. So if I wake up in the morning, how many times did I hit my snooze alarm? It knows that. What's the first app that I opened up when I picked up my phone? It knows that. How much battery power has each app used? Like if I'm on Facebook, it will tell me you were on Facebook for 54 minutes today. And out of that, your app, Facebook, used 13% of your power. Oh. Time to move on. All right, the last one there is image and facial recognition. That does get a little bit more, it is a narrow intelligence, but there is some more deep language to that because I used to work in the security industry several years ago, actually, almost 20 years ago, I guess, in Pennsylvania, and we installed facial recognition systems for prisons. And there used to be, there was a 14-point code for different faces and stuff. So it was a matrix system that would use certain figures in your faces and things that would have to use all that data to prove who you are. Now your phone does it within seconds. So that technology is built in. When we were installing it, a facial recognition system for one door was $15,000. So, I mean, you get it with your $900 iPhone for free. Verifies people for security, authentication, surveillance purposes. It is highly accurate with the task of facial identification, but it cannot interpret images outside its training. So if I've trained my phone to open up an app because it sees me, it's just seeing me. If I wanted my wife or Donnie or somebody else, I would have to train the phone to do the same thing for them. Same thing when fingerprint readers were that. I mean, it would use your finger. I could put in myself, could put my wife in, whoever, and then have that available for them. So general artificial intelligence is getting more into the IBM Watson, the Chat GPT. These are systems that will possess a generalized cognitive ability, all right? More comparable to a human intelligence. So now we're upscaling a little bit. It's allowing them to understand, learn, and perform certain or any intellectual task that a human can. And we're going to talk a little bit later about neural networks and how that, you may have heard that term. It's been in the news a lot. Anything with SpaceX or Elon Musk, you're going to hear a neural network. Give you a quick story on IBM Watson. In 2017, the company, hospital I work for, paid for me to go down to Florida to the Health Information Conference, Technology Conference. So I spent a week in Orlando at the conference center there, and I kind of specialized in two tracks. I specialized in I wanted to learn more about the telehealth at the time and more about cybersecurity. So I had two different types of courses I was going to. So I happened to stop in IBM. If you ever go to these conferences, it's like Gen Con for healthcare nerds. All right, it's huge. Vendors, people everywhere, badges, people are buying things. It's crazy. So IBM Watson in 2017. I don't know if you ever watched Jeopardy several years ago. IBM Watson went up against, was it Jennings? At that time, Ken Jennings.
He's hosting now.
Yeah, Ruth's hosting now, and there was a little competition between AI and Ken Jennings, and you can go on YouTube and watch that as well. But anyway, back to the story. They had a booth, big one, which was IBM Watson Healthcare. And I sat and watched this demonstration. The demonstration was three key pieces of information that Watson needed to make a diagnosis on a patient. One was the presentation of the patient. So patient walks into exam room. Person is being recorded and videoed. So it's listening and it's watching for facial movements, body language, those kind of things. It listens, it documents what it's hearing. After that, depending on what it hears, it will say lab result and maybe a radiology scan. So based on the presentation, one of two, either a lab result or rad scan, radiology, it was able to make a diagnosis with an 88% accuracy. I was like, wait a minute, back up here. Now, that was 2017. All right, fast forward. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yes, practical uses. AI has been now used in healthcare for at least 6 years. 6 years. And it's being integrated more. Now, again, is that good or bad? It depends. Right now, the way I see it, from a trending, from a diagnose, not necessarily diagnosis, but treatment plan, I could see that a good thing in a way. Here's some data. We got your data. Here's what you need to do to make that data different. I need to bring down my cholesterol and my lipids badly. I am not doing well in that category. I can see trends in the computer in my chart that say, when you did this, this did this. It's like, okay, I need to stop doing this. So again, we're looking at trends, data, healthcare information.
It takes so long to get into the doctor anymore.
Right.
That, I can see where that would be helpful.
Glad you brought that up. We'll talk about that next week. AI doctors. Mm-hmm. Automated scientific research. Again, we're in the second level now. We're general artificial intelligence, strong AI. Research is AIG-based research. Assistants could hypothesize, experiment, and interpret results independently. Again, going back to the whole algorithm, the data, and the model. Pulling that all together and saying, okay, I can do, the computer can do certain things and make decisions independently. So now we're at a different level. All right. Generalized medical diagnosis and treatment planning. AI systems can serve as a super doctor, capable of diagnosing any condition across various medical disciplines. It could integrate vast knowledge from medical literature, patient history, real-time data, and personalized treatment plans. And I will say we are probably 80% there as a global technology as integrated with healthcare. And we get to super artificial intelligence. And this gets into the what if scenarios, speculative. What could we do if we had this? And I'll be honest with you, I'm watching a lot of news. I'm seeing a lot of things happening. And there are data centers being built with untold storage capacity and computing power that are going to make this happen. Right now, I know between Google Amazon and Elon Musk, they're competing who's going to have the biggest data center for this. So again, it refers to hypothetical, which again depends on what time, where we're at, of AI that surpasses human intelligence. So now we're into the creativity mode. We're into problem solving, emotional intelligence. There's even speculation of having AI more of a counselor or a psychiatry type of involvement. You know, walk home and it's like Alexa's like, tell me about your day. I hear Frasier or something, you know. Maybe on an old TV show, you know, I'm listening. Amazon, I know you are. Or Alexa, I know you are. So again, going into the super intelligent systems that could analyze and coordinate global resources to solve major world problems, climate change, poverty, food shortages. Again, I'm not saying I'm either for or against any of this. These are all speculative. These are all hypothetical. Educational transformation and global knowledge sharing. An ASI-powered education system could develop highly personalized and universally accessible learning experiences for everyone. The key word here I keep hearing is universally. Universally for everyone. You know, and it's a great thing. It's a great thing. It's a great term. But then I got hit with this one. And you tell me what you're thinking. I'm going to pause, and those who know their Bible a bit, tell me where we're going here. Universal language and cultural understanding. ASI could break down language and cultural barriers, facilitating a deeper universal understanding among people globally. ASI could instantly translate languages with perfect accuracy, accounting for cultural context and nuances, thus creating a truly globalized communication platform that fosters unity and minimizes understanding. Where are we? Yes, we are. Electronic Tower of Babel right there. Yep, we are coming full circle. Yes.
I have a question on the global problem solving.
Yes.
What percent are we towards that one? You gave a percent.
Right. Right. So I think on that case, this is more data driven. This I see being more realistic because there's data that can be used. Crop yield, hydration, those kind of things.
Like if they put in, how can the Palestinian people in Gaza be helped with food, even though UNRWA, the UN,
Right.
has been connected with Hamas, and Israel wants them out.
See, that's a large string right there. That's a large. So you're getting into the real world application. So something like ChatGPT and those things, that takes a lot of superpower. And I understand where because you can. Have you used ChatGPT? Anybody use ChatGPT yet?
No, I wanted to learn how to access it.
Okay, we're going to do that next week. So it's basically taking that kind of context, but not that's huge. That's a huge string. But yes, at some point, given that kind of power, you know, it could come up.
With the solution.
May say, hey, you know, in order to, you know, solve for X, I need to do this. But it could also say, if this X doesn't exist, here's how you need to create X. So now you're talking into the creative side of the AI. You're talking into the intelligible supercomputing methods that are going to happen there. Yeah, good question. I mean, there's things like that, you know, even with you know, some kind of healthcare need or whatever it is, you know, how do I solve X? And that's what these are meant to do. All right.
So with the universal language,
Mhm.
is that sort of like the app that you say something
Right.
in English, it translates it.
So Google Translate's a good one. But I think what they're talking about here, again, this is all hypothetical, would be more of a, it's with me all the time, whether it's a wearable, whether it's, if somebody comes up to me on the street speaking, French or Spanish, I won't have to do anything. It'll automatically do a translation for me right then and there.
Like Star Trek.
Yeah, right that, just like that. I mean, again, that's what they would like to do. So you can type in and I'll show you some of the searches and chats that I did with GPT. Which honestly, I'm going to be straightforward too. A lot of my content I purposely dug through ChatGPT for this course, just because I wanted to see what barriers or what limits and what it would allow me to do with that. So, and I've learned so much. It's a rabbit hole. It's multiple rabbit holes. You find this little thing, and you're like, oh, I really like this. I want to learn about this. And then something will be said there. Oh, I need to learn this. Then my whole
Can't get out of it.
HD thing is like, okay, I want to learn everything. How do I do this? But you can't. I mean, you kind of got to pick a discipline and say, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours a week on this topic. And that's where you got to go. You got to stay focused on it. What other questions? I'm enjoying this. I feel more facilitating than instructing because y'all give me good feedback here.
So the generalized medical diagnosis deal,
Right.
how does it AI read medical literature? How does it do that?
So just like it would now. So if I ask Alexa about, what are the symptoms of pancreatic disease? It is literally going to go on the internet and find journals of medicine to do that. It's going to find lexicons. It's going to find New England Journal. It's going to pull information from pre-existing data that's out there and bring that very quickly. I mean, it doesn't take it. I could say, Alexa, what's the current weather conditions in Madrid, Spain? And within seconds, she's going to tell me it's whatever. It's cloudy, it's raining, it's snowing. Just like that. So with more power added to these machines, the ability to collect more information faster becomes reality.
So when you say more power, are you talking about electrical power or chip?
Processing power.
Processing.
So again, I'm going to avoid the weeds. Every computer, most computers have you have a processor that manages your calculations and your things and puts things on the screen. You have what's called a GPU, which is a graphical processor unit, which is actually more powerful than the chip on the board. The thing about GPUs is that they can be used independently of the computer. So you can take 1,000 GPU cards, string them together separately, and harness the processing power of those 1,000 GPU cards, which, if I have a chance, Google what was it Elon just purchased, I think 100,000 cards, video cards, that they're building this super center out somewhere in a desert. So, but yes, it's the process. But again, with that processing power comes energy. So what they want to do, the goal is to build a carbon neutral, sustainable electrical grid that will house and power these AI super systems. That's a lot. I mean, I know when I upgraded my computer and I put another GPU in there, I had to swap out the power supply and go from a 600 watt to a 1,000 watt because that's the power it uses. It's using that electrical to drive the computational. So otherwise, you'll have 10,000 video cards burning up if they don't have the right power and cooling, because you have to cool them. A processor chip can get 300-400 degrees tops higher, and then they cease to function. Got to keep them cool. What other questions? I'm doing pretty good on time. right, let's talk a little bit about how AI works. We talked earlier, when we first introduced it, we were talking about, algorithms, talking about the data, and talking about the models. So when we break it down, there's different types of models and how that data is being processed and utilized. Machine learning is the one that we probably hear the most of, or will silently experience the most of. It's happening, we just don't realize it behind us. So we're talking more of medical field type stuff, or we're talking about computers, like how do you stop a virus from getting your computer? You have a virus, hopefully you have virus protection. That virus protection is using a form of machine learning to say, when you encounter this, do this. Okay? It's what they call outliers. Because again, we're looking for patterns. I don't know if I have I'll do it on here real quick. So if you're familiar a little bit with computers, they process in what numbers? Zeros and ones. Zeros and ones. Okay, so zeros and ones. I'm gonna make sure I can write on this board. All right. So it could be a pattern because there's, you have 8 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That make up a set of data the computer understands. Well, it's a pattern. So what AI can do, it can recognize is say, hey, there's a beginning of a pattern. Triangle, square, square, triangle. All right. Square, square, triangle. Okay, so we know a pattern. What happens if it sees that? It's a diamond. Well, it's an outlier. So now something's happened outside my pattern. What do I do with that? Okay, it has to understand. Or it may think, well, let me wait a bit. Maybe the pattern has changed. Now it has to adapt. It's not, now it would have been a false positive. Whoa, it's not a virus. I'm going deeper in this. It's a pattern change. Now I have to make adjustments to whatever I'm doing to compensate for the pattern change. Now it's starting to think like a human. All right? We'll see this here a little bit where, what happens if I am driving down 26 and there's an accident, I have to get 2 more blocks down the road. What do I have to do? I have to take an alternate route. And if I don't have a GPS in front of me, I have to think through, okay, I'm on here now. I could backtrack and take 600 and come this way. So now you're doing real-time adjustments, okay? So machine learning is kind of the same thing. Deep learning. So again, let me go back down here. So AI is going to learn from data through algorithms. It's going to improve performance on tasks over time. So again, going back to, before I move on, machine learning, it's going to figure out, okay, I did this last time, I can do it again. I'm going to improve upon what I just did before because it worked. So it remembers those kind of things, just like us. Okay, hey, I remember when that accident happened, I took this route. I'm going to take that route again. So now the time it took me to synthesize that and make that correction was a lot less. I wasn't sitting there thinking to myself, oh, okay, wait a minute. If I go back, okay, it's happened again. So now it's like, oh, I remember that. I'm just going to go boop, 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 and I'm at work. So again, it's starting to remember. It's starting to think on its own. Deep learning is taking that really far. So now we're looking at a subset of machine learning using neural networks. Don't ask me how they're built, who builds them, or where these brainiacs come from. But a neural network is a is multi-layered. It's deep learning because if it doesn't find an answer at one level, it's going to go to the next level and the next level and the next level. Neural networks, and if you want to do some homework till next week on your throughout the week, look up definition of neural networks. It'll blow your mind, literally. It is basically, no pun intended, well, kind of, designing a computer to think like use a brain. It is basically a brain. But again, limitations. It's only going to perform that which it has been set in its domain. Have we got the Terminator yet? I don't know. So it's going to understand complex patterns. So now this is like, kindergarten now to the neural networks. This is like, I eat that for breakfast, right? Now we're talking complex patterns, features. We're getting more back into the solve for X hunger thing. Solve for X, name your complex thing, right? Okay, then we're going to go backwards just a bit. So we did machine learning, high-powered stuff, deep learning, neural networks, thinking like a brain, voice recognition. Now we're going to backtrack to natural language processing, which again goes back to the computers able to understand language, understand the spoken word, okay? The hospital, we use nuance, dragon dictation or power chart. So physicians can text or can dictate into a patient chart from their phone, from a microphone, no matter what dialect. I mean, English, Canadian, Spanish, thick dialects, it's going to recognize it because, again, you have to train it first. So those things have to be trained to that person. So I could speak a very thick German accent, and if it is configured and trained to do so, it's going to very fluidly allow me to dictate into that patient's chart. So again, that's the natural language processing. Chatbots. How many have you got onto a service account of your bank or somewhere recently and a little bot, can I help you? Type AT&T does this. Oh, it drives me nuts. I just want to see my bill. Or I have a question that the chat bot can't answer. Well, if you have some time, you really want to irritate the chat bot. I've done this. And eventually it gives up and says, I'm contacting someone to help you. Please hold on. But, it's predefined. How may I help you? I'd like to see my bill, or I have an issue with my bill. Okay. Tell me, have you, and just ask you a series of questions. So it's just drilling down to find out it's basically the visual portion of the phone tree. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. Now they've gotten rid of that because it costs money to chatbots. Chatbots are already pre-designed to do that. All right, so we talked about machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing. This thing here I've been studying, I can't do that today. But it does, because we're going to get into, which we're not covering today, generative AI. So what is generative AI? The ability of AI to generate or create content, okay, which is a big problem right now in the video and art industry. Generative AI has basically, my oldest daughter is an artist. She works at Amazon, and she also has she's very good at art, very good for handwritten art, hand drawing, freehand, and she does digital art. But in her community, in the artist world, there are people who are using generative AI, stealing artwork and reselling it. And they have not 1 ounce of talent, not 1 ounce of artistic talent. But if you can think it and you can type a description of it and even use an example, and again, I'm getting ahead of myself, practically next week, I could take a picture of somebody's artwork. I could feed it into ChatGPT, which uses, if I want to design artwork, it uses another application called Jally, which is more of I'll talk about next week. But it will take that image, and I can say, transform this image into a unique pattern that whatever, changes the sky, blah, blah, blah. And it will do that. And it may look better than the original artist, but I can pass it off because it's unique to me. Yeah, go with that. It's just, to me, it's a form of piracy. Definitely piracy. But there's arguments both ways. But generative AI, we'll talk about that. All right. So now let's talk with the time we got remaining here. We're going to go into more of the application type stuff. I think we've kind of covered some things, but I want to kind of review and go a little deeper dive into what this means. So in a healthcare perspective, AI, again, depending on what model, which I would more or less, it's going to be the machine learning. Again, it's going to be learning about the individual, about their habits, about their medical history. Can it identify and treat disease, identify health trends and risks, alert provider and the patient of medication issues, develop a personalized treatment plan, and assist lifestyle decision planning. There is an AI for home use, a camera system that it's been out for a couple of years now, and it was developed by a guy who wanted to keep track of his dad because Alzheimer's, dementia, and it would track his dad's patterns in the house because there was a set pattern he would do every day. If he deviated from that pattern, his son would get alerts. So if that pattern did not include eating breakfast, getting medication, going to the bathroom, whatever, and it would bring up a little camera footage. And, oh, okay, he's okay. Hey, Dad, yeah, everything okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Well, I saw you missed your daily whatever. Oh, no, I'm going to go do that. I mean, so there again, it's a pattern. It's a visual pattern. Safety, protecting someone that's at risk, right? Yeah.
So is that available now?
I'd have to find out who markets it, but yeah,
I was gonna say, how much would it cost?
right. I don't know. Again, this I was talking about 3 years ago. But I can look it up, see if it's still out there on YouTube. I'm sure it is. But we use AI at the hospital for patient safety and risk. If you're ever a patient on the 5th floor or 6th floor of IU Health, when you're in your bed, you will see a camera. That camera is, I think they're 8K. Those cameras are they can zoom in from up here. They can zoom in on somebody's nose hair. It's crazy. So we've been working with project teams to put these in, but here's the solve for X. Increased patient volume, decreased skilled nursing. Can't find people, there are just too much volume. You look at here's another number, ratio, 1 to 5. 1 nurse to 5 patients, a nurse to 3 patients. How do you prevent falls? How do you eliminate the risk? Bed alarms irritate people, and people know how to disable the bed alarms. Found that out. Mr. Johnson, get back in your bed. And they're like, here with a cable. Like, how'd you get out?
What about
So,
what about privacy in that camera?
So, I mean, again, when you're in a hospital, you kind of lose all that anyway because you're kind of open and anything. But what the AI does, and we're only using the first stages of it, it can detect. It's called Artisight. Nothing secretive. You can look up Artisight online, and I found out we're just using it for observation. So we have a main area where you can observe 30 different people, right? And what happens is if patient 0, patient X over here is starting to do some things that is an awkward pattern. He's getting combative. He's starting to pull things. Little red box comes up, draws your attention to this patient. Okay. Now I can say, okay, I've got an eye on this guy. Okay, boop, call nurse so-and-so, patient in room 504 needs assistance. They don't even know they need assistance yet. But that person, because of the algorithm, is presenting signs of a fall risk. So guess what? What would have been a fall risk because of staff shortages is now solved for X because AI saw that. Now the deeper version of this, because it does have, we are only implementing first phase. It can read your body temperature. It can read your behavioral patterns, grimacing, pain inflections, happy, sad, whatever, even at dark, even the night. So if somebody has administered meds and the AI knows what to look for symptom-wise and say, you know what, his arm's doing something weird, he's got this going on, body temperature and the face is flushed, red light, get somebody down there, you need to check them out. So it's amazing stuff. It really is. I get like, whoa, we're really doing this? I started in 1986. We only saw this on really funky animated movies that were so like quirky, low budget. And now here we are, this year, how many years later? Anyway, we've been doing a lot of this stuff for years, especially with drug interactions and things. Now a lot of that manual process is taken out. Several years ago, I don't know if you remember, there was an instance with pharmacy that was accidentally mismarked a bunch of meds, and they got distributed. So the medications were off, and they were getting administered to patients. Systems now catch that. Now it's that, and again, who reads the box? How can you read the print? I'm sorry. The print was not meant for someone like me to read. All right, let alone a nurse who's trained. But again, we scan the barcode, we scan the person, we scan the meds. Do they match? Yes, it's exactly what the doctor said they should have. It's the right formula. It's boom, Kate, you're getting this. Now, if something does occur, let's say there's a reaction, all that's now in the chart because it was scanned with that patient. It now knows patient X has a reaction to this medication. Don't do this again. Here's an alternative. There you go. There's your algorithm. Cool stuff. Education. I just eat this stuff up. I shouldn't. Automated grading. Being a former educator in a high school system, would have loved this. Would have loved this. I have had a couple students with IEPs, individual education plans. At that point, you're not grading, you're just setting goals. I heard a comedy skit on that, which totally fit me. But you're creating goals for that child, so you can do that a little easier. Facilitating parent-teacher conversations. Have no idea how AI would help with that. But apparently it can. Identifying learning interventions. All right, this one I would love. We just see a number of autistic students, learning challenged individuals, hearing impaired, sight, visual, those kind of things. What are some AI ideas, solutions, solve for that can help us there? Again, assisting with lesson plan and development. When I first got first-time teacher, I was doing a whole new program, and there was nothing built. I was building the bicycle and riding at the same time. So I was like, yeah, Steve, why don't you come in and build this whole computer networking program? And by the way, you've got 12 students coming in first year. I'm like, thanks. Got an empty room. AI, help me. Robotics. This has been pretty much going on for a while. As I know, this is the first iteration. Everybody see these around?
Yep, on campus.
On campus? Yep. I love them. Now they're everywhere. Every college has something like this now. I think it's great. So that's autonomous delivery robots. The ability for a device, a robot, to just do its thing, move along its path, encounter obstacles, solve for obstacles. Again, what happens when my pattern shifted? I reroute. I do something different. Again, within my programming, what I'm allowed to do. I'm not gonna, this little robot's not gonna say, you know what? I'm not delivering this pizza. I am gonna go to, Outback. I'm gonna go hang out with, whatever. It ain't gonna do that, right? It's set programming in a domain. One of my favorites, again, going back to medical, Da Vinci. Anybody ever hear of Da Vinci? You have heard of it,
Little
okay?
tiny, and my husband had that.
Okay, yep, yeah. They had started it with, we were using it for intrauteral and prostate and those kind of things. And now they have them for ortho. We have our first ortho one. And I believe
Knee replacements?
we are looking at neuro and cranial. So again, non-invasive. I mean, like we're talking very minor subset, not going in deep tumor kind of thing, but it would be used for like folks who have Alzheimer's or no, Parkinson's. They're doing that electrode therapy. So they can use Da Vinci's to very specifically, I mean, you figure, you're putting your hands in there, or it could be unsteady. You could have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't, I could never do it. But Da Vinci can put those electrodes in right where they need to be, precision, test them, monitor them, all that kind of stuff.
The surgeon that did his surgery, his prostate surgery, used a Da Vinci.
Yeah.
And of course, my grandson was sitting there and he goes, you know how I learned to do that intricate work? He said, playing video games. That set him off. Grandma, I told you
Oh,
so.
my
I play
goodness.
video games. I'm
Right.
gonna be a surgeon.
Right. Because fine motor skills are a need.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, the hospital's getting robots soon too.
Yeah, I don't know where that's at. We're supposed to be getting an autonomous bot for delivering of meds and different things. And we're still, I'm not sure where it is in the approval process, but it's supposed to be able to open elevators and do all that stuff
Oh my
too.
gosh.
They have them at Riley and University, I think, right now. They're set up 2 places, Riley and University. The one at Riley is called R2IU,
Oh.
R2D2. They had a naming
Love it.
competition and somebody came up with R2IU. Yes. Oh, real quick, agricultural. John Deere See and Spray. You probably know a little bit about this. Have you heard about this?
No.
So again, I can spray a field, just everything, don't know if there's weeds in it or not. What if I had a design that AI visually that could see the weed, spray just that spot? Gallons and gallons and gallons of herbicides don't need to be wasted. There's one of your solved problems right there. Agricultural. So, so again, the whole See and Spray, you can look it up, John Deere See and Spray. There's all kinds of technical stuff. You can look at it and there's videos on it. Amazing stuff. Here we are. I can use my phone to take a picture of a plant and AI is going to tell me what it thinks it is. Well, hey, they just took it a whole step further. Practical, fundamental use right there. I don't have to generically spray an entire field just for a few weeds.
They've been driving combines for years.
Right. Right, driving combines with satellites. Why put seed where I know it's not going to grow the last 2 years? So now I'm just going to conserve when that thing's laid down, that computer knows because of trends, because of data, because of algorithms, I'm not going to do it right there. I'm just going to keep moving, do it here, 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 and be done. Warehouse inventory robots. I think I've said a little bit about that before. Go to Subaru. Go take a tour of Subaru.
Outstanding.
We did that with the homeschool kids a couple years ago, and I'm like, I couldn't work here. I would be so distracted. So distracted. I mean, these things know where. Oh, Walmart. Oh, this was funny. So last Christmas, I went to get water jugs in the back of Walmart, and they have this little autonomous sweeper, beep, 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 going around. And I was just in a mood because I thought it was funny. And because the water area, like where I was filling up my jugs, is right by the kids' little child, diapers and stuff. There was like a big old stuffed bear. And I let it happen. I took the bear and put it on the seat. And I said, "See ya." Beep, beep, little
On the
time.
seat of the.
I did.
the-
I was like doing my thing, and by the time I was getting ready to go check out, it's still going. Nobody touched the bear. And it's just doing its thing. I'm like, that could make some kid happy. Who knows? I don't know. I was just like, those thoughts, intrusive thoughts. There you go. See ya. Anyway, that's what happens when my wife lets me out alone. Banking, fraud detection and prevention. I like that one. I do like that one. That is a big one. So again, And again, I think when Officer Griner's here, he can talk a lot more about that. He's my dark web guy. He's the guy that I'm scared of. Thankfully, he's a deacon here. He's a church here. I trust him with what he knows, but what he has access to because of his job is a little crazy. Chatbots for virtual customer assistance. Okay, like, hey, no one's available. Can I help you? Talk to a little chatbot guy. Credit scoring and loan approval. A lot of that now because there's no greater data field than finance. I mean, global, regional, local. The amount of data that passes through our networks related to finance is amazing. It's incredible. So the kind of superpower you would need to do this kind of work, algorithmic trading, market analysis, now with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now that's another field of trends and things. And how do you watch all this data? I have friends that are in cryptocurrency. I don't know how they do it. I just know $1, $5, $10. I just know that. When I look at crypto, I'm thinking, you guys are brainiacs. I don't know what you're doing here. It's crazy stuff. All right, questions, comments, feedback. I'm scared.
That was my question. Should we be scared of it?
Should we be scared? I had that question. This is funny. This is the kind of thing that, when you're doing this and people know you do it. I had a conversation with the gal that cuts my hair last night. And, the thing I like about hairstylists is that they know how to keep a conversation, especially if they know
Yes,
you're. They do. Like, where do you come up with? You have a book of things you're going to ask me? And she had just asked me, after we got through some other stuff, what's your take on this whole AI thing? I said, well, how much hair do you have to work with and how much time? Yeah. And I said, it's just like any tool could be used for good or bad. It depends on the hands of the user, right? I kind of look back at, Oppenheimer. Thought he was doing a great thing, right? Until he actually saw the result of his work and, was quoted as, I become destroyer of worlds. We've given man the power to destroy themselves. That's the dark side of technology, right? So I think there are a lot of benefits. I think there's a lot of good things. I don't know if I'll still be here when all this unravels. But it's, for now, in our current state where we're at, I think we're kind of between the machine learning and into some of the more of the generalized strong AI. But as it rapidly starts evolving and more thinkers come on board to start moving this, because right now there's no real regulation. There's nothing at this point. My brother-in-law worked for Delphi, which is now Arco, I forget what they're called, but their primary focus was autonomous vehicles. We have autonomous vehicles. Whether you know or not, they're among us. So there's cameras, there's things, it's like a Tesla, but supercharged. So the goal is logistics to make trucks more autonomous. So the problem, again, to solve for truck drivers, national, federal regulations say you can only drive so many hours. You need to get rest. Well, what if I'm going to go take a nap, AI? You got the wheel. Wake up in Albuquerque, maybe. I don't know. Bugs Bunny reference. Those are the solve-fors, Anyway, yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think, will we get to a point where, the Terminator, where AI decides, you know what, I'm good now. You're a virus. See ya. I don't know. I don't think so. let's go take a look at what AI is. Sorry, that was dark. I didn't want to go that deep. So now you're like, gosh, I'm not coming back next week. Yeah, it's like, what, I always forget his name, the rest of the story. Paul Harvey, now you know the rest of the story.
Yes.
Loved him growing up. Okay, so let's go back to some definitions, kind of like, what AI is. Again, is referring to development of computer systems that can perform tasks typically requiring human intelligence. Key characteristics of AI, and here's some things we've gone through all night tonight, is the learning and adaptation, problem solving, being able to analyze information, make decisions, solve computer, complex problems, chess engines. Ever seen the video of the first time they played chess against a computer? And the computer won, like, constantly, because, again, it was going through its algorithms, what didn't work, what does work, and it was coded to win. Natural language understanding. We didn't get too much into NLP. We'll talk about that next week. More of the chatbots, automation of tasks. Again, I go back to the whole McDonald's model, or pick your fast food restaurant now. How much did they save by replacing people? I mean, what's the offset? So somebody is getting an hourly rate. Now you're no longer paying that hourly rate. Let's say that employee would have cost $20,000, let's say $20,000 full total cost of benefits. Now you replaced it with a $60,000 kiosk that never calls off sick, that is there, no need to tell it what shift it's starting on. Is there a trade-off? What's the value? What's the long-term value? So, pattern recognition, talked about, detecting data sets, medical diagnosis, fraud detection. Again, going back to that pattern, being able to adapt or detect a one-off. A one-off would be like a fraud. Hey, your pattern is to use your credit card in Lafayette. And it picks up your routine. You went to Sam's Club, you got gas. I'm at the hospital, I got coffee at the Banyan. Then I saw a charge for Moselle, England. You bought a suit? You bought what? Phone call. Funny thing is, I get the automated phone call before I even get a live person talking to me. And I've had it where I've called, I don't usually, what I'll do is if I get the automated phone call, I don't always trust them. I don't. I will physically call the bank and say, hey, I've got a phone call. This is happening. Okay, what's your account number? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we've already disabled your card. Thank you. And we disputed the charge. Thank you. So there's that outlier, that one-off of, nope, does not compute. All right. Again, talking about narrow AI, general, super intelligence, speculative versus reality. Healthcare applications, finance, transportation, autonomous vehicles, route optimization. And I am blind without my GPS. I really am. We went up to Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. I've never been to the Dells. Love the Dells. Love it. So, planning our routes, and now they have it where you can plan stops. So if I have my route, and I was like, you know what, I need to stop for gas and coffee, I can hit the little button and say, look for coffee shops, boop, boop, boop. Okay, I want that one. Then it will plan my route and say, okay, then you can go on. I love it. It just works. But, I remember when my pop used to sit before we would go on any trip that involved more than 10 miles. He'd be at his desk with the whole map, everything, a map. But he was a Navy guy. So World War II, so maps were his thing. And he'd be back there, and he'd like, Stevie, come back and want to look at this. And he had to do the thing. I'm like, I'm just going to be sitting in the back of the car. But that was the thing. So now you've got real time. I mean, even what we've noticed too is Chicago. Driving through Chicago, alternate route is needed because it will tell you, and it does real time updates. So it's like if it says, an hour and 15 minutes to get your destination, all of a sudden it says an hour and 40 minutes, something's up. And it's usually Chicago if I'm going that way. Crash has been detected. Here's an alternate route. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. All right. What it is not. Here's my guy right there, Skynet. It's not Terminator. It's not iRobot. It's not perfect. They're not flawless. Again, there still takes user human intervention on these things for the output that they're trained to do. They're not autonomous in decision making. They're not going to make decisions outside their domain of programming. And they're not a human replacement. I beg to differ. We've seen it. We are seeing it. I want to say human complement. A partner or just an assistant. We did Q&A and we got two. Wow, I've never done that before. Thank you, AI. Questions, comments? We have a few minutes now. I'm going to actually end the live stream at this moment, but you can email me techskillscoach@gmail.com.